Hi and welcome to RC Copter Love. Today I don't have the ideal weather for the thing I want to do. I want to do some sling load. Please show the sling load, my dear wife. This is the load, this is the sling, this is the helicopter. I'm a big fan of full-size helicopters and everything what full-size helicopters are capable. That is the reason why I'm loving this hobby, flying RC helicopters so much. So as you know, I'm not a 3D pilot. I do everything that full-size helicopters are able to do. And the thing I want to train now is sling load operation. So I love that helicopters can put things up on a hut in the Alps, for instance, a place that you can only by foot reach, and they are able to bring 600 kilograms of beverages, food, other very essential things. You have seen the pictures when there is a flood and a helicopter picks up a person from the waters. So you can do missions with helicopters that are impossible with other air vehicles, and that's why I love it so much. I see in this training that this is not easy. So you have to be able to pick up the helicopter very controlled. My goal here in this training now is I bring it to the left side, the sling and the load is lying on the left side. So I bring the helicopter controlled over the load and keep it there in a controlled hover with controlled altitude. So the most difficult in this whole thing is that you have a lot of tasks at the same time. So you have to control the altitude of the helicopter to really the centimeter. I was choosing a very small, short sling because this is more safe for my fun, because this sling cannot really get into the tail rotor, what would be horrible, very not unsafe. It cannot come into under normal conditions. If I do a flip or if I do a loop with it, it could come into the main rotor and there would be a catastrophe. So let's see how it goes. I spool up the machine. Please have an eye on the helicopter. So, as I told you, most important thing is to get the machine up to take the machine off very smooth and bring it to the left over the load. So I try it, and I try to keep the altitude stable. It was not the best, but it was not the worst. So it should not lift up at once, but the wind is really strong. Now I pick it up because there's a bit too strong wind, and I'm flying a bit around. So when you are flying with a sling load, you have to keep the altitude, the tempo, the speed very low. So because if you fly too fast, the load will begin to move too rapidly. So you see, my load has about 130 grams in total. That's about 10% of the weight of the M4. So it is not affecting the M4. It's not bringing the M4 out of shape. We have to go a little bit back. So I try to hover first in a very stable way, set the load on the ground, keep the helicopter in a stable altitude. It is not very stable, in a stable position. It is not easy, and my main focus in this, when I want to do it safe, is that I really always have an eye on how far the tail rotor is away from the load, because if the load or the sling would get into the tail rotor, this would be a catastrophe. It would be immediately a crash with a lot of damage because I would lose completely control. So, and even if the tail blades hit the load, there would be damage to the tail blades. So I want to do this safe. Someone could say it's not a safe thing, but I tried. I did a lot of testing, I did a lot of flights, and now the most important part of this training is to once again try to get this freight, this load on the ground. But first of all, I have to have a stable hover. This is not a stable hover, so I have to really get the machine in a stable hover. Now it's better, and then try again to stay over the load. This sling is very short, so I have not a lot of tolerance. Now I try to straighten it and pick up the load delicately. So this was not delicately, so I have a lot of training to do. And of course, part of sling load operations, important part, is to fly, to transport the load from one point to another. So I'm using my dear obstacles. And one interesting thing I was experiencing now, I am now reducing the altitude without a lot of forward speed, and in these moments you experience the vortex ring state effect when the air blown down from the rotor disc is turning around, going up, and is sucked in again. So you have dirty air, you are sucking in the same air several times, and this reduces the lift dramatically. Many accidents are happening with full-size helicopters because they don't have enough power. For God's sake, the M4 and any other, but the M4 is so powerful, he has so much power in relation to the weight that I have always enough reserve. So that was not a good point, I didn't want to drop it there. So the most important, stable hover in this wind, not easy, so that the load is shaking less. But now the wind is really strong, and it's coming from one side, from the back. I want to put the load down, hold the helicopter on one place. Not easy, but that's training is for things that are not easy. Straighten the sling and take it up. So this is what I'm training countless times, but also the flying. So the wonderful with helicopter is you can fly sideways, you can fly backwards. I like it with the sling load because the sling is far away from the tail rotor, and you have to all the time observe the altitude. Now you really feel the wind. I think you will hear the wind in the microphone. I hope you hear me, because it's really gusty today. Once again, a trial to hold the helicopter stable on one place. By the way, I love the shadow he's painting. It is very difficult now, but it's possible. So this is what all is about. And to lift it up gently. And now I'm even going to prepare one last little round. The wind is really strong now and gusty. You cannot foresee on which side it will come. And I'm preparing myself for the landing. The most important thing is in the landing that you land the helicopter far away, or as far away as possible from the freight, so that you don't destroy the load and that you don't destroy the helicopter. That was a horrible landing. We do it once again. We do one more time. So, but I have seen my wife didn't understand the one more time, so we don't do it again. This was RC Copter Love. I hope you liked it. If you want to try this, you have to really be able to hover very stable on one place. You have to be able to hold the altitude, and you should never do it on such day. I didn't have a choice because I wanted to do this video, and it's getting autumn. You see it on the clothes, it's getting cold, so I had to do it and I couldn't choose. And of course, wind is my favorite teacher. I think when you are able to fly in wind, you are able to fly in every condition. So it was a good training. I hope you liked this video. If you liked it, give me a like. If you liked it very much, subscribe to my channel, and I hope to see you again. RC Copter Love. Bye.